This is our gentle chair yoga class. And as I mentioned, everything can be done seated in a chair. If you prefer to be on the floor, that's okay too. And there are some poses where if it's comfortable for you to do those poses standing, that'll be an option as well. But I'll show everything in a chair today. So let's make ourselves comfortable in whatever seat you've got. Make sure everybody's muted so we don't have any background noise. Okay. And if you're in a chair, it might feel good at this point to lean against the back of the chair and really feel supported. So as always, I like to start with a little bit of grounding and centering. It might feel good to see if you can close your eyes for a moment and let yourself settle in, feeling the weight of your body resting on the floor or in your chair. And maybe noticing now if there's any feeling of tension or stress kind of living or sitting in the shoulders or the neck and the jaw. And just notice as you pay attention to that, whether it might start to fall away just by bringing your awareness to it. Sometimes we've been walking around with stress or a feeling of anxiety, and it's not until we really sit down and settle in that we even are able to notice. So if it's there for you, take a moment and see what's there, and then maybe it starts to change. If it's helpful for you at this point, you might take a moment to orient to the room that you're in. So that works like this. You might just glance around the room. See if you can let your vision really spread out as though you were taking in a whole panorama. If it feels okay, you can even turn your head and take in what's behind you and above you and behind you on the other side. And sometimes this has a settling effect on us too. Now, if you like, you might go inside a little bit and see, what are you working with in your body today? Is there any feeling of pain or tightness? Do you feel tired or energized? See if there's any messages that your body's sending to you, anything to pay attention to. And then you might also check and see, how am I feeling inside in my heart and my mind today? What am I bringing with me to my yoga practice today? Now, this isn't always easy, but what we're trying to do here is see if we can just notice what's going on with us without feeling bad about it, without feeling like it's wrong. So if there is some anxiety, if there is some tension, if we do have a little bit of pain, whatever it is that our situation is today, just for now, see if you can just let it be the way that it is. I'm not asking you to like it. I'm not asking you to embrace it, but just to see this is how things are right now. And sometimes there's a little bit of calm or even comfort that comes from just saying, okay, this is how it is now, because we understand that it's not forever. And even as we move through the practice, things will continue to change. If you'd like, this is a good time to begin to set an intention for your practice. So your intention is just something that you're infusing into your yoga class today, some special meaning. So that might be something physical you're working with in your body, like, oh, I like my neck to feel less tight. Or it might be something mental, like, oh, I'd like to stop thinking about whatever situation might be on your mind. Or maybe you would like to cultivate an attitude of more love or patience. There's no wrong reason to be here today, and there's no bad intention. So whatever it is that you're working with, see if you can invite that in here if it resonates. And some folks like to bring their hands to the heart at this point with the palms together. And if that's not something that resonates for you, then there's no need. You can just let the hands be wherever they like. Let's take a moment to breathe an intention through the body. And if you don't have an intention, that's okay too. We'll just take a few breaths together here. And when you feel ready, if the eyes have been closed, you can blink them open. If you've had your hands at the heart, you might relax them down now. Let's start to bring a little movement into our practice. Take one hand, it doesn't matter which hand it is, We're going to start to draw a sideways figure 8. Now, an infinity symbol. Doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't matter if it's in front of you or to the side of you. Pick some place to start and start. That's how we do. And then see how it feels to be moving your hand, maybe your elbow. Maybe now your shoulder gets a little bit involved. Maybe the movement gets a little bigger. And if it feels okay and it doesn't make you dizzy, see if you can watch that movement with your eyes. Notice the breath in your body. See if anything is shifting or changing as you start this movement. And then when you feel like it's a good place, or a good time in the movement, we'll pause and go the other direction. Now, the second direction is, it's like our least favorite, right? We always pick the easy or our favorite way first. So at first it might feel a little less natural, but then we might start to smooth it out. You can focus more on the wrists. You could focus more on the elbow moving, or you could let it be about the shoulder. And if there's any pain in any part of it, just make the movement small enough that it's not troublesome, that it's not bothering your body. Now let's pick up the other hand and then bring the movement to the other arm and switch. Set the first hand down and we're doing a figure 8 on the second side now. Make it as big or as small as you like. It could be a big, swooping, bubbly figure 8 or infinity symbol, or it could be long and linear. Sometimes I like to go to the side a little bit, so I bring a little bit of my shoulder movement into it. And other times it's kind of nice to keep it smaller. Again, if it feels okay, we're watching with the eyes, just seeing how the hand, how the body moves through space. And when you're ready, pause and swoop in the other direction. Oh, you may not feel as though you are in your body very graceful. You may not feel as though you are very elegant. I want to challenge that notion a little bit for you. See if you can feel the natural movement, the natural elegance that comes from just moving the arm through space. If you feel like I am not elegant, I am not graceful, then I want you to pretend that you are and see if you can just invite that idea into your body today. Let's do one more circle or one more swoop with the arm, and then we're setting that hand down. Take a moment, breathe in and out in your body, and see what you can notice. Now we're going to do a figure 8 with the eyes. We've done this before, and there won't be much for you to look at if you try looking at my eyes. So I'm going to walk us through it. We'll start by looking up and to the right, then down and to the left, up and to the left, and down and to the right. So we're taking the eyes up as far as we can, just looking as far as you can with your eyes to the right, down to the left, up to the left, and down to the right. Almost as though you're tracing the far corners of your vision in that figure 8. And then try going the other way. So down to the left, up to the right, down to the right, up to the left. We'll do a few times that direction. And if it's a little tricky, that's okay. You don't need to be good at it. We're just moving the eyes around the room. Now, begin to move your nose with the eyes. So now the nose and the eyes look up and to the left, down to the left, up to the right, down to the right. As you do this, you're continuing to move. You can feel that your neck is moving and your head is moving. And if it feels like more than you need, or you start to get a little nauseous, then just make the movement different or go back to the hand instead. When you find a good point, let's go the other direction. And now instead of the nose, you might imagine that it's your chin that's doing the movement. And you can just let the eyes follow along. Remember that we always want to move in a range of motion that is not painful. So nothing that makes you feel too uncomfortable or feel like, oh, I should get out of this position. Do one more circle around, bring it back to center and pause. And then feel your hands where they are. Feel your feet. Feel your body resting or sitting on the chair or on the floor. Now we're moving on to the shoulders. So we're going to move the shoulder blades. We'll move them together first, and then we're going to try to move them separately. So here's what we'll do. We'll lift the shoulder blades up to the ears, squeeze them together behind you, pull them down, and then bring the shoulder blades apart. So we go up, together, down, and apart. I'm going to show you my back so you can see how this movement might look from the back. Shoulder blades go up, together, down, apart, up, together, down, and apart. And now we'll go the other direction. Together, up, apart, and down. Keep going. Together, up, apart, and down. One more time this way. And then let the arms rest, let the shoulders rest. Okay. Now we're going to try to isolate that movement to just one shoulder blade at a time. So this can be a little tricky. Let's see how we do. Start by lifting your right shoulder blade up into the air. Squeeze the right shoulder blade in toward the spine. Pull that shoulder blade down and then pull it away from the spine. So it goes up, in, down, apart. One more time. Up, in, down, apart. Let's take that in the other direction. That shoulder blade comes in, up, apart, down, and we'll just do 2 more times. If it's tricky or if you're having a hard time with it, move your shoulder in a circle, and that is good work. Next time that you complete this cycle, let that right arm rest, pause and breathe for a moment, and then we're moving on to that second side. Now the left shoulder blade. It's okay if the 2 shoulder blades are kind of helping each other with this. We're working on separating them, but it's not always easy, so be patient with yourself. Let's start now by lifting the left shoulder blade up, pulling it in, pulling it down, pulling it apart. I'll show you from the back again. The shoulder blade goes up, apart, up, in, down, apart, up, in, down, apart. And then we reverse. In, up, apart, down, in, up, apart, and down. One more time. And as you complete this last circle, let both hands, let both arms rest, or maybe it feels good to shake them out a little bit. All right, let's do a little stretch for those arms that we've been working. Take both arms out to the sides here if you have the room, and if you need to make more space, you can always bend the elbows, so if you have furniture that's close by. Now we'll start by squeezing the shoulder blades together behind you, and then bring both arms around in front of you. Cross your left arm over the right, and we'll pause here. Here's the side view. Walk your left arm as far to the right as you can, and then let it flop. With your right elbow bend, and gently pull that arm across the body. So here's the review. Your left arm is straight, the right elbow is bent. We're gently pulling with the right elbow to stretch into the back of that left arm. If it feels good, you might even drop your left ear towards your left shoulder. Take a few breaths here. It doesn't matter too much which arm is on top. So if you did the other arm, it's really not a big deal at all. We do them both. And then we'll let this go. Slide the arms out, spread the arms wide, squeeze shoulder blades together, and then cross right arm on top of the left, walk that arm across, bend the left elbow, and gently tug over with it. Now on my back, as I do that, that's pulling the shoulder blade forward a little bit. So for some folks, it's going to feel like a nice stretch through the back of the shoulder, but if it's too extreme, just make it a little less for yourself. See if you can let your right hand be limp. It's not doing anything. That arm's just hanging. And then here, if you wanted to drop the ear toward the shoulder, right ear toward right shoulder, you're welcome to do that. And we'll just have a few breaths right here. As you stay with this for just another moment or two, see if you can still connect to the feeling of your hips resting on the chair or the floor, your feet or your legs resting on the chair or the floor. Okay, let's unwind your arms. And now take a moment and shake and shrug and maybe shake out the fingers a little bit. We're moving on to some half salutations. So if you've been seated on the floor and you wanted to stand, you certainly could now. The instructions are the same, whether you're seated in the chair or standing. The only difference is that we're sitting down. So if you're with me in the chair, it looks like this. We'll start by reaching the arms up just as high as they comfortably do. Then we bow forward. So as you come forward, you're leaning forward over the legs. See if you can let the head be a little heavy here. Then fingertips slide up the shins toward the knees. Lift the chest, almost as though you were looking forward toward the horizon. And then we're bowing forward again in our half salutation. From here, we'll stand back up with the chest. It lifts tall and the arms reach up if they're comfortable. And then the hands come through the heart. Really nice work. Let's do that 2 more times. Reach up with the arms. Bow forward here. Now the hands could be through heart center or they could be reaching out. Doesn't matter. Both ways are good. Fingers to the shins, lift the chest. And then fold over the legs or between the legs, whatever works. Back up to our taller spine position, arms reaching. Good, and then hands to the heart. One more time. Arms lift up. Bow forward, no rush at all, coming down. Lift the chest. And fold. All the way back up to our starting position with the arms reaching overhead. And nice, hands through heart center. Now we're setting up for our warrior poses. We're going to do warrior 1 first. We'll do warrior 1 to the right. So for warrior 1, we turn the right toes to the right thigh turns to the right, and then the left leg goes a little bit straighter. So depending on your chair, you may find that your leg needs to be a little bit bent here on the left, no big deal. If you were standing, it would be the same thing. We just wouldn't have a chair under our hips. Now we're turning toward the right leg. So the chest turns and then the arms reach overhead here. If it's not comfortable for the arms to reach overhead, then instead you could have the hands here at the heart or at the waist or even reaching back behind you, whatever feels best for you. So you could try those positions and see what feels good for you and your body today. Our yoga practice isn't about making all of us look the same. We're not trying to make little like cookie cutters out of ourselves. We're trying to bring the idea of the pose into our body and see what works best. So here, the idea of the pose is that the right leg is bent and the left leg is a little more straight. The chest is turned toward the right leg and the chest is lifted a bit. And then the arms do whatever is best for your arms to do. We'll take 1 more breath in here. And then let your hands slide. Maybe they come down through heart center if they were overhead. Bring the hands back to the thighs. We'll turn around toward the front of the chair again and right to the second side. So now I've got my left toes turned to the left, my left knee pointing to the left. My right leg is a little straighter and my chest is turned to look out over that left knee. Pause for a moment before you add the arms and ask your shoulders how they are. Sometimes we feel okay while we're in a pose, but then afterward we notice that something doesn't feel so good. So if they feel okay and you had the arms overhead before, then maybe on this round you want to do the arms overhead again. Or maybe you're getting some information from your body now that says, you know, it's been a lot of arms up already today. Maybe it would be better for me to have my hands in a different position. So on this side, I'm just going to show the pose with the hands here at the heart. And then we're breathing here. The chest is a little lifted. And wherever you are, I want to encourage you to see if you can really feel your feet on the floor, if that's something you're able to feel. If you're seated in the chair, feel the support of the chair. And if you're standing, feel how your hips are floating in the air. Feel the lift of your spine. And we'll take one more breath here. And then let the hands rest again. Come back around through to center. Before we move on to the second side, or to a second set of poses, back to the first side, just take a moment and move around a little bit. If there's a little twist your body would like to do, you can do that. And now we're going to do humble warrior. So the legs are the same, but the arms are different. And you may need to make some different choices with the arms. So let's set it up. We turn the right toes to the right and the left leg is a little bit straight. I've moved to the edge of my chair in order to be able to move my hips in this way. Now, instead of the arms being overhead or at the heart, for humble warrior, the arms come behind. I'm interlacing my fingers behind me and that feels okay in my body today. But if it didn't, you could just hold the hands right here at the hips and that would be a good way to work with this pose. Wherever you are, the arms are somewhere behind you. Pull the shoulder blades together a little bit and down. Then this is your choice. Start with the chest lifting tall. And then if it feels okay, you might start to lean forward a little bit here. Let the head be a little bit heavier here. Let it be a little relaxed. Depending on your body, you may even let your belly rest on your leg or your chest. Some folks, if you feel stable enough in your chair or your standing position, you might even let your head drop a little bit to the inside of the legs. You're kind of draping downward. But again, you'll want to make sure that you're checking in with your body and that makes sense for you. Let's take one more breath in whatever version of humble warrior you're experiencing. And then we'll come back up, release the hands if they were clasped, come back around through the center. Humble warrior to the left. So we're bowing forward here. The left toes turn to the left, the right leg is straight. We start with the chest lifted and then we make a choice with the arms. On this side, I'm just going to keep my hands at the waist so you can see what that would look like. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and down. Now, if leaning forward isn't a good option for you, if it makes you feel dizzy or you know it's just not right for you, then you might just lean forward a little bit here and that might feel good. Maybe letting the head be a little heavy. If it does feel good to go a little further forward, you're welcome to do that. Make sure that you can still breathe and that you still feel supported by your legs, by the muscles of the core, if you can feel those working for you. We'll take 2 complete breaths in and out here. As you complete your next exhale, lift yourself back up and we'll come back through to center. Walk the legs back in and then we'll do a half salutation. Arms reach up. And then we're bowing forward. Either slide the hands through the center of the heart or drape the arms downward, whatever way you like. Slide the fingers up to the knees or the shins, lift the chest here. And then let your spine round as you drop back down and in. Then we're back up to our tall position, arms lift overhead or as high as feels right for you. Slide your hands back through the heart. Really nice work. Okay, warrior 2 now. Right toes turn to the right, left leg a little bit straighter. The biggest difference between warrior 1 and warrior 2 is the plane that your chest is in. So before in warrior 1, we were looking out over the right leg. Now with warrior 2, we're squaring off with the pelvis and the pelvis is equally balanced between the 2 legs. So my chest is between my right leg and my left leg and it's looking straight out. Then we add the arms out to the sides if that feels okay. See if you can feel, maybe even closing your eyes for a moment, feel the 2 arms floating like they're equidistant from the floor and they're equidistant from your heart. So there's an evenness here in this pose. Traditionally, the gaze is out over the front fingertips. So you're looking over the right fingers. And now we'll add just a little movement here with dancing warrior. Let your left arm drop down toward the left leg. With the right arm, reach up toward the sky. This is called Exalted Warrior. Maybe the arm even arcs over the ear a little bit. Then take your right hand or your right elbow to the right knee and let the left arm sweep over the ear. We're going back and forth between these two positions. Lift up through Exalted Warrior. And then hand or elbow to the knee for side angle pose. Good. If you're standing, it's the same thing. We're just going back and forth between these two shapes. And next time that you find yourself in your side angle pose, pause for a moment. We're going to hold here. See if you can check your neck and shoulders for any excess tension. And then all the way back through, we're coming into Warrior Two first. Feel the reach of the arms. And then let the hands rest, walk the legs back in. And let's move the legs around a little bit. Let the legs come in and out. And we'll move to the second side. Great work. Some of you have your cameras on and I can see you, which is so much fun. It's always okay if you don't. It's fun when you do because I can see what your poses look like and you all look great and you all look different. And that's exactly how it should be. So here we are back in our Warrior Two. Now we're going to the left. So again, the left toes and the left knee point to the left. The right leg is a little straighter and the arms are reaching. Looking out over your left fingertips, see if you can feel the arms reaching. And then notice if the shoulders have gotten kind of elevated up by the ears. See if you can drop the shoulders away from the ears so your neck is long and spacious. Let's explore that movement here. Dancing Warrior. Right arm drops down, left arm reaches up. And then hand or elbow to the knee, right arm over the ear. Back and forth between these two, no rush. You may do one or two more rounds than I do, that's okay. It's also okay if you're moving more slowly, often means that you're moving more mindfully, and I always appreciate that. So take it at your pace. We don't need to do, it's not like three repetitions is a magical number, it's just a number that we could do, but you could also do 2 or 4 and that would be great. The next time you settle into your side angle pose, we'll pause here. I've got my hand on the knee, but you could also have the elbow. You could be a little lower or you could be a little higher. It really depends what's right for you. You're taking one final breath in and out here. And then let that arm float back down and we're back in Warrior Two, reaching through the arms. Maybe you're looking out over the front fingertips. If that makes your neck feel uncomfortable, just look wherever you like. And then hands rest and we walk the legs back in. Let's set up for Goddess pose here. We're going to take the legs a little wide. My toes are turned out a little bit. If you were standing, it would be the same thing. The knees are bent and the toes are turned out. Make sure that your knees feel okay. If you need to straighten them or change this at any time, please do. Then we're taking the arms up and into a cactus shape. Spread the fingers wide and let's wiggle the fingers for a moment and call these jazz hands. So maybe you wiggle the fingers and shake the wrists a little bit and feel a little loose. Good. And now we're going to move the arms through space. So we're not doing a lot of these and I want you to remember no pain. So we'll start by bringing the hands behind the head or just to either side of the head without pushing your head forward. Now the arms come out, spread wide. Good. Bend the elbows and slide the backs of the hands to the sides of the waist or the lower back. Then we take the hands wide, up through our cactus shape and behind the head again. Let's do that 2 more times. Maybe reaching a little further back if you can do that without pain. Rotate the arms so that the backs of the hands are what slides behind the back, maybe reaching up a little higher without pain. And then hands slide out and come behind the head. 1 more time like this. If anything feels uncomfortable or wrong, change it until it makes sense for your body today. I can't say that enough. It's so important because the magic isn't in doing these things in the exact same way. The magic is in making them work for you. Next time you're behind the head, that's the last. We'll take the arms back out to the sides and then float the hands back down to the legs. Let's straighten the legs a little bit here and move them around a bit. We're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold from here. You're in the chair, you're in the same position. If you're standing, the legs are wide and you're going to go between the two legs toward the floor. If it feels okay, we'll reach the arms overhead one more time here. And then as you bow forward, if you're in the chair like I am, elbows come to the knees first, or hands come to the knees, and then see if it feels okay just to let yourself hang here. This may be where we want to stay today. This might be enough for you and your body today. Again, a lot depends on your chair too. So depending on how stable you feel or how high it is, this may be where you need to stay. If your body will let you go a little lower between the legs toward the floor, it's okay to let the spine round as long as that feels okay. And then might feel a little bit good here, whether your elbows are on your knees or your arms are dangling toward the floor, to let your torso sway a little bit left and right. See if it's okay for you and your body to let the head hang. If not, then you're staying a little higher as I'm showing here. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good work. Take your time to walk yourself back up to the tall position. And then I want to take just a moment to check in with you and your body. So if you'd like, you could close your eyes and just see, how are you feeling now? We've done some movement. We've brought a lot of mindfulness to our movement. What can you notice in your body about how it's feeling? Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit more work before we rest. We've got one more warrior pose. This is triangle. It's not technically warrior, but we start with warrior. So we're coming back to our warrior 2 position one more time. My right toes turn to the right, my left leg's a little straighter, but my chest stays square toward between the 2 legs. Now, depending on your chair and your body, you may be able to straighten your right leg a little more, or it might have to stay bent. So I'm just walking my right foot out a little bit more so that it feels a little straighter. And then your left arm, that's your other arm, is going to tuck behind your back. It doesn't matter how far it goes. And I want you to make sure that that shoulder feels okay. If not, then the hand is going to stay at the hip. If it's okay to slide the arm behind the back, then we do. This is a triangle with a half bind. So we call this a bind when the arm is reaching behind us. Now we're starting to lean onto that right leg. So I'm walking my hand down the leg. You could rest the elbow right here on the knee as we did earlier, or maybe in your body today, it feels okay to drop it down a little lower. If you were standing without the chair, it would look like this. So same pose, just different support. If it's okay, see if you can drop your right ear towards your right shoulder so there's no tension in the neck, but your body may tell you that it needs to have some tension there, and it's okay if it does. For some folks, they might feel a nice stretch through the side of the neck and the shoulder here, but if it's not okay, then you'll change it. Now slowly begin to draw yourself back up out of that triangle. Take your left arm out from behind you, move it around a little bit if you need to. And we'll slide right into the second side. Starting with warrior 2 to the left. You know warrior 2 very well by now. We've done it many times. Arms reaching, and then maybe walking that left leg a little straighter. Again, that's really going to depend on your chair and your situation. If it's okay, the right arm slides behind the back, or you're going hand to hip. Either one is good. Then we're reaching forward and out along the leg, and either elbow rests or hand slides down the leg. I want you to make sure you feel really stable and supported here. So if you're feeling like, oh no, I might slip, then your body won't be able to be comfortable and breathe. And it's much more important that we're able to be comfortable and breathe and know that we're not going to fall. So wherever you are, feel as supported as you can, and then let your ear drop toward your shoulder. As you stay here, check in. Does everything feel okay? And is there anything that you need to change or shift around in order for you to feel really safe and comfortable and supported here? Last breath here. And then we're sliding back up. Bring both hands to the legs, walk them in, shake it out a little bit if you like. Nice work. Maybe the shoulders want to shrug. Last piece here, we're going to do a back bend. If you're standing, you're doing standing camel. If you're in a chair with me, we're doing a chair camel. You could also do this on the floor with your knees on the floor. If you know that version and like that version, fine with me. So if you're standing, it's all of the same things, you're just not in a chair. If you're in a chair, slide forward a little so you have a little space behind you. And we'll start by taking the hands to the low waist as I'm showing here. Pull the elbows behind you as far as they'll comfortably go. And then this is a little bit difficult to sort of get sometimes, but I want you to see if you can drop your tailbone down and engage a little bit through your abdominal muscles, as if somebody were going to tickle you and you pulled back just a little bit. Now keep that as you start to lift the chest toward the ceiling. Doesn't matter how far you go here. You might imagine that you're leaning back over a beach ball. You could hold your hands right here at the hips, or depending on your chair, you might take your fingertips to the chair behind you or to the sides of the chair. I have my hands on the back rungs of the chair here. Be sure that you have your neck in a position that feels okay. So tipping the head back doesn't feel good for a lot of folks. I'm just looking straight forward ahead of me here. And then notice whether or not you're able to breathe comfortably. We only want to go as far as we're able to breathe comfortably, stretching into the front of the chest. Take one more breath here. And then slowly, slowly make your way back to your more neutral spine. Really good work. If you've been standing, come on down to a seat. Any seated position will be good. We're going to do one twist and then we're resting. Of course, we'll twist to both sides. So you can be seated on the floor, you can be seated in the chair. And we'll start here with a little twist to the right. If you're sitting on the floor, you might have your legs crossed or one leg straight and the other leg bent. It's up to you. Let's reach the arms overhead first. And then we're taking a twist to the right. As you twist to the right, bring the right hand somewhere behind you if you have space in your chair. And then the left hand can rest either on the left leg or the right leg. It doesn't matter. If you're able to, see if you can push your feet into the floor so that your chest lifts up tall. Then gently begin to rotate your trunk around and to the right. Now you can look with your eyes, but see if you can notice whether there's any feeling of really trying to pull yourself somewhere or push yourself somewhere, and see if you can let go of a little bit of that effort and let yourself just be where you are with it. Sometimes we get so caught up in trying to get somewhere that we're not able to be where we are. And I'm sure that you've all had that experience in your life somewhere or other. I have. But our yoga poses are a nice place to start to work with this pattern. So notice if there's a feeling of trying to get somewhere and see if you can just be in this twist for another moment or two. Great work. Let's unwind, come back to center. Notice if your body wants a little movement or wants to shift around. And then we're coming to the second side. So the left hand now comes behind you to the chair or to the arm of the chair or whatever you've got. If you're on the floor, it could come to the floor behind you and you may have changed your legs. Now, use your arms as just a little bit of leverage, but no pulling, no yanking, no fighting with yourself. As you slowly turn yourself around your spine, looking over the shoulder, let yourself be where you are. See if you can really let the hips be heavy. Let the breath just move through you. Let the shoulders be maybe a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm. Really good. Let's come back around through the center. And then let yourself find a comfortable position to rest. If you need a little bit more movement first, or if you need to move into a different shape before you're able to rest, that's okay, of course. I want you to do what you need to do for yourself. When you feel ready, we're settling in for our final meditation, our Shavasana. Shavasana in Sanskrit, Sanskrit is the language of yoga. Shavasana means corpse pose. So we're practicing the death of our yoga practice. So we're practicing letting go of all of the effort that we put in over the last 45 minutes and just letting ourselves be as we are now. If you like, you might choose to close your eyes if you're in a place where that feels okay. And then see if you can begin to tune into the feeling of your body being supported. Just as we did at the beginning of our practice, see if you can notice the legs on the chair or the floor. See if you can feel your back supported. Notice if the shoulders have started to lift up a little bit. Invite your shoulders to drop down and away from the ears. And if you need to move a little bit so you feel more comfortable, do that at any time. Notice if your body has any messages that it's sending to you, anything that it's saying to you about how it's feeling or what it needs. And then see if you can notice how you're feeling mentally and emotionally right now. What has shifted or changed now that we've spent 45 minutes working with our body and our breath and our mind? We'll take 1 or 2 more breaths here. And then before we move on with the rest of our day, I want to invite you to, if you choose, set an intention for the rest of your day or for the weekend or whatever comes next for you. In the same way that we set an intention for our yoga practice, now we can set an intention for ourselves moving forward. And it could be something physical or mental or emotional or spiritual. Take a moment or two to breathe that through the body, maybe even bringing the hands back to the heart if that was something that felt right to you. We'll take 1 or 2 more breaths together here. And then when you're ready, eyes can blink open. And we'll come together again as a group in a moment. But before we do, I want to ask you just to lift the chest a little bit and maybe ask your body, how would you like to move or wake up? Is there any little twists or turns or stretch that your body's looking for? Really great work today. So that concludes our time together for this session.